Thanks for joining us today.
Well, thanks for having me.
So my name is Tiffany Esposito. I'm the CEO of the Bonita Springs Chamber of Commerce, and this group is the Southwest Florida Alliance of Chambers. We represent 8 chambers of commerce, 6,000 businesses, and over 300,000 residents in Lee and Collier County. So again, thanks for taking the time to be with us.
Sure.
We are recording this call, and we are interviewing all of the candidates, and we're posting the recordings on our websites and our social media, so you'll be able to see those when they're completed. And before, we just have a few questions for you, and before we get started, we'll go around and introduce the group to you, and then we'll get into the questions.
Perfect.
Awesome. Colleen, then Jenna, then Dave, then Jackie.
Hi, I'm Colleen. I'm with the Greater Fort Myers Chamber of Commerce, and thanks for being with us today.
Hi, I'm Jenna Bazzacco-Forster. I'm with the Greater Naples Chamber.
Good afternoon, Dave Miller with the Chamber of Southwest Florida.
Hey, good afternoon, Jackie Lezak, the Fort Myers Beach Chamber of Commerce.
And we also have John Lai on the phone with us, representing Sanibel Captiva Chamber of Commerce. So you are on mute. If you want to unmute yourself and go ahead and tell us about yourself. We can't hear you. Here.
Okay.
There you go.
There you go. Okay, great. So, of course, my name is Charlie Lynch, and I'm a healthcare consultant. I've been doing this for quite a long time. I'm independent consultant right now. I get hired by the pharmaceutical industry, and I get hired by independent healthcare systems. And what I do is I basically go in and I set up patient assistance programs. I also maximize their reimbursements, show them different strategies, different metrics that they can utilize. The program I set up at Yale brings in about $22 to $24 million a year of what would have been potentially write-offs. So what this does is it's a twofold. It both gets the patient treated right away, and it also helps the hospital or healthcare systems not have to write off so much money. I also do some online teaching for one of the career colleges in Tampa. In addition to that, I could say I'm very business focused, obviously, by building this program. I really want to see in Southwest Florida a healthy business community because, of course, I have children here. I don't want my children to graduate and then move on because there's no real industry in Southwest Florida. When Publix is our 4th largest employer within Southwest Florida, it's not too good. The first one being Lee. Healthcare system, I could tell you self-insured entities like that really have difficulty if there's not a lot of outside commercial insured patients coming in their doors, and they, minus the 8,000 of their own employees. So the need for a really good business background is candidate, I think, is really important. In addition to that, I want to bring really great healthcare to Florida. I want to open up the markets, bring competition in, drive down costs, cap co-pays, so there's more access. So I have an educational platform, a business platform, and of course a healthcare platform. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Thank you. And what prompted you to run for office?
Pardon?
What prompted you to run for office?
Well, healthcare is a major problem. When you look at healthcare in general, what do we look at? We look to Washington. Washington obviously can't handle healthcare right now. They're having a very difficult time. So on a state level, I think if the state can actually pull something together, better healthcare is needed in Florida. I came from a top academic hospital, one of the top in the country, and I'd like to kind of bring my expertise to the area, especially within the state. If I can have laws passed and really lead patients to better healthcare, that'll be great. Southwest Florida can utilize better healthcare. The whole state can, but especially here in Southwest Florida, where we don't even have a level 1 trauma center. So I think if you don't jump on board, you can't solve problems. And that's my main reason for getting involved in politics. I mean, I always wanted to, but now everything is right. The timing is right.
Awesome, thank you. And what makes you qualified to represent the business community?
The business community. Well, once again, I built a $22 to $24 million program. I've taken that program and I've replicated it in healthcare systems. With that, you have to work with several different, levels of business offices within your silo institutions. You have to bring in the pharmaceutical industry. You have to bring in outside society. So my ability to network is really well. I'm known on a national level with that. Same thing applied towards business. I grew up in a very business environment where, you know, we had a manufacturing company and it was right on the Mexican border. And so that whole business background I have is really good. I just think that if you have a state representative in office, that state rep should do everything they can to drive business into your community. And by doing that, whether it's letter writing campaigns or using personal contacts or just working side by side with the chamber, that's great. But again, when we look at Fort Myers and we have Publix as our fourth largest employer, and then we have Walmart as our sixth, that kind of says that we need more industry, because the better industry we have, more industry we have, the higher paying jobs we have, it's going to have a trickle down effect on our whole economy. And I love Fort Myers. I know we have a strong tourism industry, but we also need a strong, clean industry, you know, whether it's biopharmaceutical. Why did Alabama just get another car plant? Why are they the fifth leading car plant state? You know, manufacturer of cars. Why isn't Florida in there? What is, you know, we need to kind of advocate for ourselves and for our community. And I think the retirement community of Fort Myers is kind of expanded beyond that now, where there's more young families and there's going to be a need for jobs. Again, I don't want my son flying off to New York or somewhere for another job because there's nothing around here. So that's what.
Yeah. In your opinion, what's the most pressing issue facing the Southwest Florida business community? And if elected, what will you do to address this issue?
Okay, the issues in general? Okay.
What specific issue, what do you think is the most pressing issue for the Southwest Florida business community?
Okay, well, right now, one of the most pressing issues, of course, is getting our economy back on track. And again, only get your economy back on track when we feel confident to go out. MIT Sloan just did a really nice report as far as what we can do to kind of get our economy rearing back in, the confidence of consumers to go out there and actually, you know, buy, purchase, go to our restaurants. And that's not going to come if there's no confidence. So I think the business community, as well as the state, needs to do a campaign to kind of build that confidence up, whether, you know, in all businesses, you know, we check temperatures, we do, you know, masks, whatever, we do tracking, whatever it is to get industry and people back into the stores. The other pressing issue is when you look at Southwest Florida and the amount of jobs of people on unemployment right now, of course, they can't access their unemployment. So that's dollars not being spent within our community right now. So again, that trickle down effect is really important. And again, you know, if we bring in industry that's strong, it's going to help our whole community. That will solve the problem. But without industry, we're going to maintain where we are, and we're not going to exceed growth, which we should be doing. I mean, again, we have all the makings for a great community, and we have land use. We have great access on 75. We should have more industry.
Great. So as you've mentioned, Southwest Florida, our economy is heavily dependent on leisure and hospitality. If elected, what would you do to encourage economic diversification in this region?
Well, advertise. Of course, get the word out there. I mean, everyone wants to come to Florida. Southwest Florida is a great place to be. I fly a lot for work, and it's funny, sometimes I'll fly out on JetBlue and there's advertisements on the local New York network stations, and it's come to Fort Myers Beach, Sanibel. So that's great. I'm flying out of my city, but yet I see commercials on, you know, live dish TV. But I think an active advertising campaign, especially in the Southwest, our Southwest region, is definitely needed to kind of strum up that business. You have to have the support of your legislatures behind you to forthcome with any money we might need to build our tourism industry back up, to build our economy back up. Again, you know, if you look at Southwest Florida, we're so dependent on that. And between red tide and COVID, we need a solution. And I think maybe the chamber has solutions, but they need to have a legislative member who will listen to them and go forth and do whatever they can to kind of bring that forward.
Thank you. So this group was formed out of the 2018 water crisis, and water quality was and remains our #1 priority. If elected, what specific projects would you advocate for to improve and protect Southwest Florida's water quality?
Well, first of all, everyone knows water quality is important. I mean, we need it for drinking, we need it for survival, we need it for tourism here. So it's very unique where some communities just rely on clean drinking water. We rely on both tourism with that too. But of course, Everglades restoration is so important. And I think to protect any estuaries around here is paramount too. So I would like a big focus on our estuaries, our water coming down out of Okeechobee, runoff water farm water, which is more in the Immokalee area than it is in our Fort Myers area. But I think anything to help clean water is essential. I don't think you're going to find many candidates who don't think it is. I think everybody's kind of jumping on that environmental bandwagon now, realizing that this is a way of life, especially in Southwest Florida. So the cleaner our water is, the better. So I had spoken to someone from, actually she was in, Florida State University in Immokalee, and she invited me to come look at their research they're doing. So, I mean, I'm all hands on, get more involved in that, but it is for many reasons more important and I think more vital for our survival than most communities. So.
Thank you. Just two more questions. What specific actions do you think that our lawmakers should take to improve and protect Southwest Florida's waterways?
Two actions. Okay. I'm sorry. The audio was bad.
I can repeat it. What specific actions do you think lawmakers should take to improve and protect Southwest Florida's waterways?
Okay, well, as far as actions, first of all, I think you have to admit there's a problem with our waterways as far as red tide, as far as what's coming down out of the rivers. So I think what they need to do is stand behind science. Like I said, go and maybe speak to people at Florida Gulf Coast University who are working on projects, and again, University of Florida, and actively work with them. What two issues? Well, of course, farming issues are big throughout the state. Southwest Florida, not as much, I don't believe, as some of the sugar industry areas of the state. But again, I mean, water is essential. So again, my project is, why do we still have red tide? Why do we still have runoffs coming out? The Caloosahatchee River. I mean, all these things we hear, Okeechobee, what's getting drained, what's not. I mean, I think it's time to now, which of course we learned through COVID, is to listen to our scientists and take what they say rather than, politicians' jobs should be to take what the scientific facts are and run with those facts, whatever we need to do to protect our environment. So as far as specific, I think the coverage would be whatever it is, you need to be able to be there, listen, and have all the data. And, if there's anything that goes against the grain with anybody else, I mean, bring all parties to the table. That's an important thing, because when you bring all parties to the table, you learn something. And just to throw a spin on that, I brought 9 pharmaceutical companies, all competitors, to the table with all their VPs and to find a common platform for patients. When there's a cause, you can bring everybody to the table. And I think that's the important thing, is to be that mediator. That's part of being a legislator. Someone who's really going to do something is someone who's going to find that common ground and bring everybody together. And I know I could do that. I know I will do that.
Great, thank you. So last question, is there anything else you'd like us to know about you or your priorities?
Yes, of course, I'd like to just reiterate the fact that there are people in our own state, in our own town, that have either no access to healthcare or very poor healthcare. Let's see, I have a few minutes, so I'm going to give you a little story. So the other day, I walk into 7-Eleven. I see this woman that I've seen all the time. I don't know her name, but I see her quite often, and she's smiling more than she's usually smiling. So I'm like, well, you look mighty happy today. What's the occasion? And she said, I have health insurance. Now I can get my leg checked out. I've been limping around for four months. 4 months. No health insurance. She's excited. She's happy. So I'm like, oh, that's great. And the next words out of her mouth was, now I just have to find some overtime so I can afford the co-pays to go see the doctor. Okay. If that is not a problem, I don't know what is. That is a major problem. As a healthcare advocate, being all across the United States, working with oncology patients, MS patients, and just patients in general, there is, when I say poor healthcare, I don't mean somebody's not doing their job or we have lack of great physicians or whatever. What I'm saying is people don't have access to healthcare, great healthcare, and sometimes essential healthcare. So if you're looking at this person who now has insurance, who's now paying out of pocket, who now can't afford their copay, that's a problem. And for anybody who's listening to this who doesn't have that problem, I salute you, because I've worked with a lot of people, very professional people, middle-class people who all of a sudden get a cancer diagnosis in October. They burn through their $5,000, $5,600 copay only for January to hit again. And now they're $12,000, $11,000, $12,000 out-of-pocket expense within a couple months. I'm telling you, healthcare can ruin a person. So that's a priority. Is priority number one. Priority number two is industry. Like I said, I have a son who's graduating next year from college who's telling me areas he wants to go to move. And I'm like, well, what's wrong with Southwest Florida? There's no real industry. I mean, it's great for him to be, he bartends part-time, but that's with a lack of industry within Southwest Florida, we're going to lose our youth. And we're going to be an educator and an exporter, I'd rather be an importer, bring talent in, have industry. So my priorities would be work with these different companies, work with the biopharmaceutical companies, if even to get them to have more conventions down here. I could pick up the phone and probably have conventions booked down here. One company I worked with went down to Marriott in Sanibel, and they were like, we love it, but there's no other hotels other than that can accommodate us. Well, now we have the Luminary in Fort Myers. So, industry needs to be brought in. We need to grow the area in that way. I mean, not grow the area residentially and nothing else, because we'll always be a service industry type of community, which is fine to an extent. But now that we're not so much a retirement community, we're a family community, we need jobs for families as they mature. That's one of them. And again, clean water is important. I mean, all the essentials that we think about all the time. But I'll tell you one thing. As much as I work with pharmaceuticals, as much as I could pick up a phone right now, I have not taken any money from pharmaceutical corporations for my campaign. I have one of my running mates did take money from pharmaceutical companies. So I think being true to who you are, not taking PAC money from organizations that could be linked with, okay, I'm doing this for that. That's not a good thing. If you want same as normal, then that's fine. If you want someone who's an attorney, I'm not an attorney. But if you want someone who's going to fight for you, fight for local business, fight for healthcare, just fight for essential clean water. All these things are important. All these things are values that I think everybody wants. I'm not going to be the person that let anybody down. I'm not owed by anybody. This is who I am, somebody who's built programs and helped tens of thousands of cancer patients. Most pharmaceutical programs, assistance programs, all have my stamp on it. It's something that I've done. I know I can fix, and I know I can bring in the resources I need to fix healthcare. I know I could bring in the resources to boost a better business climate, which I believe we need. Again, you asked me why I was running. Those are the reasons why I'm running. It's surely not to sit there and make $29,000 a year, doing this. It's to really make a difference, make a mark. Done it on a national level. I could do it on a state level. This is my home. This is my community now. This is what I want to do. So hopefully I'll get in there to do that. If not, I'll be willing to assist anybody who has the same visions, so to say.
Great. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. We wish you luck in the election.
Well, thanks so much. And sorry about the audio problems at the beginning. Again, thanks for taking the time to include me in this format.
Thank
Have
you.
a great day.
Thank
Okay,
you.
you as well. Thanks so much.